Hi there. In this series of video tutorials, we'll be focusing on what makes us unique in the wide ocean of software providers. The question is, what makes Mespers have the edge over conventional technical fleet management? In this episode, I will shift the focus to our unique application architecture. In doing this, I'll be talking about our central multi-tenancy database. But that's not where we get started. In the first chapter of this video, I'm going to point out the shortcomings of a regular database when doing fleet management. In Chapter 2, I will then outline how a multi-tenancy database works and what it is good for. Having discussed the nitty-gritty of a multi-tenancy database in general, I will show you in Chapter 3 of this video how Mespers uses this type of architecture to bring your technical fleet management to perfection. Finally, in Part 4, I will then get to the bottom line where I'll wrap up the contents of this video. I am convinced that having watched this episode, you will understand how we use our central multi-tenancy database to fit your needs. Please remember that if you have any further questions concerning our central multi-tenancy database, you can always send us an email to info@mespers.com. So without further ado, let's get started. In the first chapter, I'm going to outline the shortcomings of a regular database when doing technical fleet management. Imagine you are the owner of this container ship. As you can probably guess, this huge vessel consists of about 500,000 different parts. So if you wanted to feed the names of all these parts into your database, including manuals of how to use them, and supposing it would only take you 5 minutes for each and every individual part to scan and enter, guess, how long would this take you? If you had to do this all by yourself, working regular business hours, you would be doing this mind-numbing job of data entering for the next 3.5 years. Imagine slaving away your valuable time at scanning every single item and attaching a manual that describes the item in question for 3.5 years. And this is just a very optimistic guess. Well, I'm sure you could put your time to better use. Since using a regular database for this task is absolutely out of the question unless you want to be slaving away the next 3.5 years doing nothing but data entering, I will now explain to you what a multi-tenancy database does and what it can do for you. Well, you own this container ship, but you might not be the only person who owns a container ship. There are currently more than 20,000 container ships crossing our oceans. Not all of them may be as high-tech as yours, but some of the components your container ship consists of, the others might have as well, and vice versa. So why not use one super large database for all these ship owners together? If a lot of them use the same engine pump, it does not make any sense whatsoever to list this item in several databases individually. A multi-tenancy database is a database that has more than one tenant, hence its name. Supposing one of the ship owners, let's call him Bob, buys a new vessel and discovers that one part is not listed in this super large database, all he needs to do is enter this one item. This will not only be to his own benefit, but it will also make all the other ship owners happy. Because simultaneously all the other ship owners will from now on also have access to Bob's entry. Not only Bob, but all the other ship owners will from now on have much more time to focus on really important things. And that is not the end of the story. It gets even better. Having talked about the use of a multi-tenancy database in general, I will now take it up a notch by discussing our version of a central multi-tenancy database. Mespers has been stuffing its vast database with valuable information of parts of container ships for over 10 years. Our centrally held multi-tenancy database already comprises more than a staggering 2.5 million elements. So supposing one weeny-teeny part of your container ship wasn't working properly, let's say a component with the exotic name of XYP Hydropump 437 was acting up. Well, all you do is you click Start Our Software, enter the name of the item in the search field, and not only the item, but also a manual describing the item's use, and many other things will miraculously pop up. So if you get on board with us, you will definitely not be entering data for the next 3.5 years. If you key in XYP Hydroplan 437, the documentation will jump out instantaneously. No matter what container ship you buy, be it as exotic as ever, we will already cover at least 70% of the components stored in our database. If there are any parts that we happen not to have in our database, Mespus with its Swiss premium service will make sure the missing components are entered into the database by our 20-man team in no time. This is my promise. So all you do is register with us, install our software, click on Mespus Cube, and the components will miraculously pop up. Now, in case you've lost focus after this plethora of information, I am now going to summarize the key points of this video. You should definitely get on board with Mespus if you want to have access to the largest database of container ship components. To date, there is no competitor in the market who comes even close to our 2.5 million items listed in our extensive, centrally hosted multi-tenancy database. If you want to cut your valuable time of installing your fleet management to a bare minimum, Mespus will have you up and running in no time. And last but not least, if there is ever a component that you cannot find in our central multi-tenancy database, our Swiss team will make sure the component is added in no time. If you have any questions concerning our service, please do not hesitate to send us an email to info@mespus.com.